How's it going, everyone? I thought I'd put together a little bit of my footage from December. December was a month with a lot of fun flying. A lot of my flights are the same, so I won't bore you with a whole bunch of just great footage like I always show. Wanted to show some of the things that didn't go well. So here at the start, early on, I'd taken a trip to Oklahoma and had some damage on the pulleys. I'll call it the redrive, if you will, of my Moster, and I just repaired them, got out, and the belt, I had run it up just real quickly, I think, but the belt was loose as soon as I ran it up and tried it again. So had to take the motor back, set it back on the rack, called my son, had him bring me the wrench that you put in the Moster to tighten the belt up. I won't show the retightening, but I strapped the motor down so I could run it up on the rack a little bit and then put it on my back again. Tightened it up, and it did the same thing. You'll see here in a second. And it was such a beautiful day. I really wanted to fly, but you might count how many times I goosed the motor hoping that the belt is going to start working, grabbing. kind of a kind of a fool's folly, but eventually, after a bunch of tries, knowing that knowing that it wasn't going to work, I gave up. Bit dejected, you can probably see the droopy shoulders and the toss the risers down here. It was just such a shame to miss a great flying day, but that's what you get. What happened was I should have known this. There's two bolts that you tighten up when you change the eccentric shaft, tighten the belt essentially. I had one of them really tight, and then the bolt that goes through the center into the eccentric shaft from the back, I didn't have it as tight as I needed it. And so the prop would spin up, motor would spin, prop would spin up, and it would let the belt slip. Got that fixed out the next morning for an early morning flight, and here's one of my choices. I'm getting, I'm approaching 350, 400 flights, similar number of hours, and getting kind of cocky about my launch abilities to be able to, a lot of running down the road. Here I was out in the field, I said to myself, I'll go right of that dirt pile, no problem. But the wing had other ideas. It wanted me to go left, and I fought it until almost too late and ended up running across the edge of the dirt pile. I finally gave up and said, okay, no, wing, I'm going to go with you. But got in the air, beautiful morning flight, and just show a little bit of footage before I show you my next mistake. One of the favorite things to do, this is sped up, obviously. Favorite things to do is fly low down the road, see if I can make the corners by staying in the road, and just make the turns and keep it safe, get out of the way of the construction workers, wave at them and have a little bit of fun there. And then the other thing I do, I got a field here that's just great for flying low, foot dragging. It's right next to the police station along a major roadway, so got lots of spectators, so a little bit of show off in me. I just love to go down in that field and just kind of get my aerial swing set, just rock back and forth. So definitely enjoyed some of that this morning, and we'll get a little bit of this in, then we'll get back to the things that didn't go so well. Here we are the next morning, or this might be evening. I'm not sure, but it was the next morning. Same site. Got the dirt piles there. They put some pipes in to keep me from running into the dirt piles. But I don't know if you noticed, if you had a glance, the trailing edge of my wing, I failed to notice, was kind of curled up in one spot. I had a friction knot. It's basically my upper lines on my Macpara Colorado are unsheathed, so they're a little more prone to getting into tangles. And yeah, there I'll kind of pan and zoom in. Maybe tough to see. You might be able to see the friction knot, but you can definitely see the trailing edge there on that side of the wing isn't straight. There's some lines that are bunched up. My brake pressure felt a little weird. Got my tip steering line flapping there. I wasn't worried about that because I knew something was wrong with the brake lines, the upper part. So basically, I just did a quick circle, brought it down, landed it, and kind of get the wing spread out again so I can find the friction knot, and we'll show you what that looked like here in a second. Just get the wing spread out and we'll go find that friction knot.
There you go. Let's have a good inspection of them this time. Ah. We got some dirt.
And actually it wasn't dirt, it was a stick or a piece of wood, a little weed that got in the edge of the wing, the upper lines there.
Okay, I think we got it.
So after a couple clearing of the lines of some weeds and friction knots, I managed to get it up. I got a nice reverse launch. Don't do that on in flights too often, but fairly windy day. Getting out and enjoying it. And, I think a flight right after that, I managed to get out and follow my buddy James around some more. Here's a flight where I had a bit of a surprise. I'm about to get low. This is an early morning flight. I think it's Christmas Eve. And I'm going to fly. This is a field I fly low in. But just about this point, I spot a plane, single engine plane, entering the field, the opposite end of the field, basically headed at me, headed towards me. And once he got down in the shadows, I couldn't see him. So I flew along the top edge of the tree line, make sure my wing was visible up against the skyline. And once I spotted him, you can see I got down out in the field and got low again. But there was a moment there where it's like, I don't know where he is. And once he got down below the tree line, but he was out having fun and it's kind of cool, a little bit worrying there for a brief moment when I knew he was in the field and didn't know where he was. But like I say, I was staying close to the tree line, and if worse comes to worse, I was going to bail out into the trees. Here's another, this is Christmas Eve evening. Winds were really low. Here's a failed launch. And I wasn't sure what happened, but looking at the windsock in the video footage, pretty clear I had a tailwind. I had laid out the wing
What
when
was
I looked at
wrong?
the windsock, but it didn't stay that way. I guess
I'm
some
not sure.
cycles were going through. Winds were so
Something just
low,
didn't feel right though.
there wasn't any little thermal activity, I think, was changing the direction on me. So, second attempt here didn't go very well. I knew I needed to run harder, kind of figured that out, but I just spread the wing out basically where it had fallen. And there's quite a few ruts right in front of me. And as I'm running extra hard and pulling on it, trying to give it a little bit of gas, I kind of tripped and spooked myself, thought I was going to do a face plant, and you see I put the wing down on its nose. It's something I really hate to do, but every once in a while it was better
Oh, that
than
was
doing the
close.
face plant of myself. I guess in hindsight, at least I got the wing up and managed any little bit of tailwind. Probably the tailwind had gone away when I launched. But anyway, I set up, got back and knew, okay, I'm going to get away from the ruts. And if you notice, I'm laid out for the third attempt, going the exact opposite direction, 180 degrees. This would be headed east. My prior launch attempts were basically headed west. But that wasn't to be. Here's the windsock. I'm looking at it again. And if you notice, my fourth layout attempt for Christmas Eve evening is back headed west again. Got the wing laid out to go west, but as I looked up at the windsock, and I think you can see it that way now, winds were coming out of the east, so I needed to switch it again. I basically decided, hey, I'm just going to lay it to the west, try to be patient, wait for a good cycle until the winds at least died down, and hit it hard, avoid the ruts. And I'm finally, fourth time was a charm. I managed to do it, no equipment damage, and up for just a beautiful evening flight. This was one of the best evenings that conditions that I've had. Here's a little sample from that flying in the evening. One of the areas we like to fly. A little bit of water, just really, really pretty place to fly around. And no more troubles here. This is just a morning flight with James. He was getting out, and it was pretty cold for this. I was thinking, man, I don't want to be down in that misty, wet air where the irrigation spouts were. But him and I went and played. We found there's lots of fields with big round hay bales. So here I am, James flanking me off. He's my wingman off to the right. Had a really good morning of flying. One thing I'll say, James got out for this one. I even managed to get Chris out once. Here's a feral hog that you always see those in some of the fields in South Texas. They're so common. That's just one little guy got away from the herd. But a lot of my buddies have had equipment damage, downtime. Maybe not damage, but equipment failures. And so I'll sneak in a few shots of James here sneaking up on me, stalking above. I'm trying to spot him in my mirror that I use to check the fuel. He pops off to the left, and I guess we'll close it. This was just one of the most beautiful evenings I had. I'm not playing any color filter games with the video footage. The sky really was kind of pinkish red like this. You can see the camera lens changes the effect a little bit, but as it goes around with the 360 camera, just a beautiful, beautiful evening. Here I'm going to do a power off spot landing. Apologize for the little smudge on the lens, but it was an awesome, awesome time flying. So that's how my December went. A few glitches here and there, but all in all, really, really nice time flying. Thanks for coming along.